So there I was, shark fishing. But then I decided to do the week 2 picks from the Swami. Hey, we got week 1 in the books, got the season off and rolling. We got some teams that are facing the reality of maybe starting 0-2. We got a couple of others trying to get their season off right, starting 2-0. We're here in Florida. Rains every day, so I have to wear my gear. But you know what? I'm here now doing the Swami for you, and I'm doing it on a Thursday night before the games start. Turning over a new leaf this year, trying to get things done for you. So, without further ado, why not let's get right into them. Dirte at Orange Crush. Let's talk about Dirte for a second. He rudely welcomed into the league uh, with a 50-plus point thrashing at the hands of the Triple T's. But he didn't put up a terrible effort. Forte looked fantastic. Chicago likes to give him the ball every play, it seems like. Drew Brees is going to get his. You can tell that Drew Brees is missing some of the weapons that he's used to having. They'll start to click. Still is Drew Brees, and he's still going to throw the ball around. He's got a great matchup against Tampa Bay this week. Same team that Mariota had 4 touchdowns against. So Brees should get his there in that game. Forte is going to face a much more difficult challenge this week against Arizona. Uh, the thing I see about this team is I'm not seeing it in the receivers. Randall Cobb, big season last year, but maybe a lot of that had to do with Jordy Nelson being on the other side. And Cobb is banged up. I haven't seen it from Mike Wallace yet. And I haven't seen Dirte make any moves this week, so he's going to have to roll with what he has. So I kind of expect the same kind of thing that he had the week before. Hey, look at Orange Crush. We might snicker during some of her draft picks, but there she was winning a very close game in week 1, starting off 1-0. And I think maybe a good chance to go 2-0 this week. Romo, when we look back on that game, not only did the Cowboys pull that out in the last minute, but looks like Orange Crush pulled it out in that last minute too, as Romo went down the field and threw a touchdown with hardly any time remaining. Ingram and Martin, they look like they're going to get the work. Neither one scored last week, but they look like they're going to get the work, and I see good things still there from both of our running backs. And Antonio Brown, best fantasy receiver, week in, week out. She can count on it at that position. So, looking at this game, the matchups are good for Crush. I don't see enough moves on the side of Dirte, so got to go one way with this one. All right, here we go. Blakestas Gangstas at Dreadheads. Um, this could have been a possible game of the week. These two teams really look good this week. I was probably a little harder on the Gangsta than I should have been. He put up a pretty good effort with 86 points, fell really short in a heartbreaking loss. Most of the time in the history of our league, those kind of games have gone to his advantage. And to lose a point on Ryan taking some knees in the victory formation, oh, God, if he would have been up by a point and lost that way in a tie, that would have been the worst loss in league history. But she did have him by bench points. She would have won the tie anyway. But you know what? He did make some moves. Never afraid to make any moves this week. Gangsta went out on the wire, picked up Brandon Cooks, picked up some tossed aside stuff from Crimson. And I really, really, really love the matchup of Ryan to Julio, the connection that they have. I think they're going to be, big time this year. Julio looks fantastic. I called it early in the year. I wanted to draft him. I think he probably will be the number 1 receiver if he stays healthy. Um, Interesting selection of Woodhead. We haven't given him a lot of credit, but the Gangster went out and said, you know what? I like what I see. Smart player. They're going to use him a lot in third down situations, and they're bringing him in around the goal line to score. So um, Lamar Miller and Danny Woodhead get trotted out for the Gangster this week. Dreadheads, hey, this is probably the best team that he's had in maybe ever. Um, he's looking good across the board. Had a really good first week, just fell short to, the Nerds who had. We did call that game right. The Nerds and Dreadhead were a super high scoring game. I thought it would be close. He just came up on the short end. So this week's a big week for him to have that kind of team and to score high. He can't start 0-2. So this is going to be a big week. I like both of the matchups. I think this is going to be the highest scoring game of the week combined. And this is once again, he's in one of those coin toss situations, Dreadheads is. But with the matchups this week, with a little bit of magic, this is how I see it going this week. Wow, did these two teams explode last week? For a combined total of 242 points, two highest scoring teams in the league. And here they are, week two, facing off. Um, what's crazy is I think these are probably the two hardest matchups across the board. I see a lot of Buffalo, Denver, Baltimore, Seattle defenses on both teams. So as high as they scored last week, I think you can look for a defensive struggle. So what I look for in breaking this game down is who's really going to stand out as a performer. Great pickup by the Winos late in the free ad drop period of Brady. The guy comes out 4 touchdowns right off the bat and acts like Brady. Um, Running back's going to be a key issue for the Winos. If he can get the production out of Charles, which he will, but it's really that number 2 spot. He's got Latavius Murray and Alfred Morris, and who he goes with there, he's going to play matchups. And Morris looked good. He looked like the same thing that he's been doing for years now, just gets it done kind of steady Eddie every week. Demarius Thomas did not look himself. I think he's a little bit banged up, and everybody's crying for the demise of Peyton Manning, saying it's over. I don't think it is, and I think that Demarius will get right back to it. And then he worked the waiver wire and picked up Rastafarian Jenkins, the tight end who had a monster game and looks like a security blanket for Winston. So that's a good team right there, the Winos. Terriers looked, everybody did the right thing that week. Terriers thought he had a good draft, and it really showed up in week one. You hate to blow a huge week like that in week one, even though you want to win. You want to save that for crunch time. But that team looks good. No changes were made, and we might be seeing the emergence of a star in Carlos Hyde. He looked the part, even though Minnesota's defense looked really bad. Hyde looked the part, and with Reggie Bush going down, like we knew he would, Hyde looks like he's going to be the guy there in San Fran. So if this team once again gets some wide receiver play, it's going to have to pick right between A.J. Green, Alshon Jeffrey, and Devontae Adams. But if he gets that right, he should have a pretty good team. But like I said, matchups are really tough this week for both teams. And if one player or one defense or one tight end really has a big week, I think that'll make the difference. And this week, I think that difference is going to give the nod to this team. Game of the week. I've been sensing a little bad blood between these two, and guess what? Week two, we get to settle it on the fantasy gridiron. That's Nerd Puppets at True Blue. Nerd Puppets looked the part. Had a lot of first-round picks, and they played the part, scoring high 90s. Rogers was Rogers. What's scary about that is that's without Peterson doing anything. Chris Ivory was a fantastic pickup. I think he's going to be really good going forward. I'm not sure what he's going to do with T.Y. Hilton, plug in there. He's banged up, so he's going to have to find something. But Keenan Allen, man, 15, 16 receptions? He looks like he's back to his 2 years ago self. And if he keeps it up, that just makes this team even more dangerous and probably puts them out there as the favorite on it. So I see good things out of the Puppets. True Blue, he beat the only team that he could have played. That's the only way that he could have gotten a victory is with the team that he played last week. So it was not an impressive effort. But you know what? At the end of the year, when it comes down to playoff time and on who gets in and who doesn't get in, we won't remember week one when he edged by. All we'll remember is wins and losses. So that's just like the big league. He did that without Luck doing anything. Buffalo's defense made Luck look pedestrian, but I promise you, after watching the game, Buffalo will make a lot of people look pedestrian. Their defense is absolutely vicious. you watch that defense is just going to be hell on wheels and make them a force to be reckoned with. Frank Gore, same thing. If Indianapolis doesn't go, True Blue doesn't go. And that's what happened in Week 1. I think he gets back on track this week, though. Much better matchup against the Jets. He's going to be fine. Forsett played a vicious defense in Denver, so really tough matchups last week for True Blue. I don't think we've really seen what that team can do yet. But this week in the game of the week, these two are in the spotlight. And, nice pickup with Dante Moncrief. Especially if T.Y. Hilton is gone for any amount of time. That guy's going to be pretty good, and Luck targeted him 11 times. He should be, pretty nice piece going forward for True Blue. But for Game of the Week status, and to wrap it up this week from the Swami Week 2 picks, I'm going to send you out with this pick right here. Have a good week, everybody. Swami is out!